Welcome back to Can It Be a Mead? We're in episode 13 and we're gonna spin some wheels to see what kind of mead we're gonna make today. This whole series is a sort of random exercise in seeing what we can do with mead when given random ingredients. So I have two wheels we're gonna spin. The first wheel is mostly fruits and other flavors. And the second wheel is spices and other things like that. So I generally like to spin them once, and then depending on what happens, we go from there. So for episode 13, let's see what our first ingredient is going to be. There is a chance that this is a basically just regular mead, or traditional mead, I should say. Here's our first spin. This is for the fruit or other flavor. It's going to be, first time we've ever had this happen. Choose two, maybe not the first time. Choose two. Okay, so we're gonna spin this 2 more times. If this lands on choose 3, we'll let the chaos happen if that happens. So we're gonna spin it 2 times, and these are our flavor combos, or our other fruits. We've got, all right, watermelon. Okay, I've done watermelon on the episode 1, I think. So let's see what our other flavor is. Watermelon and lemon. Okay, well, theoretically that works, right? Let's see if we get totally messed up by our other flavors. All right, so now we get to spin the spice one. So we've got a watermelon, lemon, and the third ingredient, or possibly more if it lands on more, will be, there's no way. There's no way! Another choose 2? Holy cow, okay. This is a little unhinged. Here we go, let's spin it 2 more times. Watermelon, lemon, we're gonna have 4 ingredients for this one. Habanero, okay. And the 4th ingredient is gonna be sage. We've got watermelon, lemon, sage, and habanero pepper. Let's go ahead and make this thing and see what happens. Look at it, isn't it beautiful? Look at this beautiful brew. This watermelon, lemon, habanero, and sage mead is done. Now you're curious, how did I do this? Let's talk about it. I think, by the way, I figured out the watermelon way. The way to get watermelon, I guess is the better way to say it. So I'll tell you here in a second. I got some pro tips on what I did to achieve that. My recipe card is on screen. This insane brew used a lot of different things. And you're gonna see stuff like simple syrup, maybe a spirit. You're gonna see maybe some instructions on stuff for dehydrating your habanero. A lot of things there. So that's our recipe card. We went ahead and started by gathering a bunch of ingredients, and we made a traditional mead to start this thing out. We started out with our honey water yeast. I was gonna add all of the other flavors in the secondary, or later on, so that was my plan. Honey water yeast, we used the Lalvin K1V1116 because it's a really clean and good fermenter, fast fermenter. So we mixed all that up. Our starting gravity was somewhere in the 1.080 realm. Here it is on screen, you can see. We used a hydrometer to get that number. Please get a hydrometer. An excellent tool to make you a better mead maker. It's also cheap. If you buy a Herculometer that's plastic, you'll never break it. You can try to. Let me know if you do. We then mixed together all that stuff, got our starting gravity, as I said. We let it start fermenting. We added our yeast nutrient, which is very important as well, at 24 hours, at the 24-hour mark. You can, of course, stagger it over more time, do that thing. I just added it at 24 hours, so that's where my Fermade O came into play. Fermentation was like 9 or 10 days. Flew by super fast. At that point, it was time to start getting crazy. So we went ahead and racked it into a new container with an auto siphon and tubing. We stabilized this brew because we're gonna use some fermentable sugars within this, between the simple syrup and the honey we're adding and some of the other stuff. It's gonna have some fermentable sugar. We did not want more fermentation, which the Lalvin K1V1116 can get up to 16 or 18%, somewhere in that realm. So it would definitely keep fermenting. Stabilized, you can pasteurize if you'd like to do that. Waited 24 hours, and in that 24-hour span, well, a couple days before that point happened, I started my watermelon concoction. I looked up a couple different ways to get watermelon flavoring. Of course, you can use amaretti or those sources where it's, I'm not gonna say fake, but it's not the real thing, let's be real. You can try to just chop up some watermelon and throw it in, but I've heard that's got some bad results. What we did was made a syrup. I found this syrup recipe online. Essentially, it just was some watermelon, some sugar, I believe, some simple syrup, and they say to sometimes put a spirit in there. So I found a watermelon, obviously. We put a little, we cut up some watermelon, put it into a half-gallon mason jar. We added a little sugar, we added simple syrup. Specifically, I used this less sugar simple syrup because I didn't want all of this sugary flavor to come from only the simple syrup. So I found one that was less sugar. You can use the real thing if you want. I think it still got the job done. And we used a little bit of Everclear just to put it in the top of this. That's mainly to keep any bad bacteria from taking charge, and hopefully anything that was in the watermelon that was wild would just peter out because they've got a little bit of fortifying from the Everclear. We didn't add a ton. We mixed all that up, put it into a fridge, let it set for 3 days. When I had racked my mead into the new container, after stabilizing and doing all that stuff, I strained out the watermelon chunks from this syrup. We added all of that watermelon syrup. We also added some more honey to back sweeten because we needed a little more sugar from that. We added our lemon zest and lemon juice, which is a lot of things. And we added our habanero. Now, how did I treat the habanero? I dehydrated one, basically. I don't have a food dehydrator, so I had to look up a way to do it. Simple as cutting them in half, putting on a baking sheet, put it into your oven and let it sit there at a low temp for a hot minute. It was, it's fun to say. It was a 150 Fahrenheit for like 5 hours, and I just watched them shrivel up and basically dehydrate. When I noticed them being dehydrated enough, I pulled them on out and we took, I believe, a whole, or 2 halves basically, and put it in with all of our other stuff for this brew. The only missing thing right now is the sage, which that will come in a moment. Put all that in there. We let everything sit in there. The zest, the habanero, the juice, all of that was in for about, well, really the zest and the habanero were the removable things. That was about 2 days on those. The habanero moved pretty quick. It got pretty spicy. I taste tested it to figure out how spicy it was. 2 days went by. We racked off of the habanero and the zest. Probably could have used more zest, but it's okay. At that point, I was like, well, we're ready to go ahead and add some sage. I've never used sage before, so I took some leaves, or a sage leaf, and put it into the carboy. No idea how well it worked. I think it was okay. There's a lot of flavors already going on here, so we'll see if it's tasteable. We left that in there for like 4 or 5 days, and then I went ahead and noticed it clearing up and bottled it. That's what we got here. We got this pretty clear mead. I stirred it up with all my shaking earlier. Here's that recipe card. Again, it's crazy. The process was also kind of crazy, but I truly think the watermelon process that I walked through there is the way to do watermelon. I'd be curious to see if people will try it themselves, so let me know if you try this, but watermelon is on my list of things I can do comfortably now. Let's do some tasting. Now, I'm not gonna taste this personally. I will taste this, but I wanna taste it with some friends because I want other people to weigh in on if this can be a mead. So let's hop to the tasting with some special guest friends. Welcome, JJ, to the 13th episode of Can It Be a Mead? We are here to taste one of the weirdest combos I've ever had. I've done watermelon one other time, so that's the fun part of this. But anyways, I told you what happened.
Yes.
The journey we went on. So let's go ahead and give me a nose check on it first before we go too deep.
Definitely melon.
It's very, what's interesting is that it's a like a watermelon rind now, and previously it was more watermelon-y, right. The pink part, actually.
It smells like smelling like if you take just a whole watermelon and you just put it up to your nose, but you haven't cut it yet.
Yeah. It's interesting. And it's about 2.5 months old, I should also say. That's all I get is watermelon.
Seeds, like, you know, if you ever chew into a seed, it's got a little bit of that.
Interesting. Shall we taste it?
I'm ready.
Let's go. I'll say the taste is so different from the smell.
Yeah. So I get now the pink, fleshy sweetness in there. It has that refreshing watermelon carry through, like on the tail end of the tasting.
I feel like the sweetness definitely helps.
The sweetness helps push it up, yeah, for sure. Because you just get, you know, up front that sweetness, and then it's just right to.
I wonder if I haven't done much with sage. I don't know if you have before, but I wonder if that sage does anything to really push that green character. If that is maybe something that's there, that earthy kind of.
Because the sage doesn't stand out in any kind of notable way to where it's not able to be mead, right?
Right. Yeah, I just thought about that. I hadn't put those two together before, but that makes sense though. What about the habanero? What do you?
The habanero just gives it a nice zing.
It's like a slow burn. I feel like it's not a punch in your face and then you're reeling back. It's just this.
It's not on the middle of my tongue. It's just a little on the edge of my tongue, and it's just there to like help keep. I think it helps keep the other flavors centered. Yeah. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree. I think what would push this recipe up further, sweetness helps, but maybe some citric or malic acid to push that watermelon up, maybe away from the green. I don't know that you're gonna fix that with the aroma, but like maybe the actual flavor component could be pushed up with some more acid balance.
Sure. And I don't know that it would be a fruit acid. I think it would be like a straight up acid addition.
Yeah, yes. The lemon is there-ish, but I wonder maybe if I had went a little harder on lemon juice or zest, if that would have fixed.
I don't think it needs more flavor complexity. I think just the acid.
Yeah, that's an interesting combo. And the question we're answering here is, can this be a mead combo?
Yeah, this can for me.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. I think so as well. I think it's very complex and weird. I'm sure, honestly, if you're going to throw something away, throw away the sage. The sage component here is like an afterthought, I feel like. And it was almost with my introduction. I didn't know how to do anything with it, so I just put it in there and like let it sit there for a couple days. Someone tell me if I did it wrong.
Someone try with maybe a little less and see if maybe that helps too, right?
Yeah.
Maybe a day instead of two.
Maybe so, but I think this can be a combo. I'd be curious. I'll put up a recipe card if you're interested in being a part of this experience. It is an experience. I do feel like this is the start of the watermelon way, as I'll call it. Like
I think you found a way to get the watermelon for sure.
I think, and it's not orthodox by any means. I feel like people are going to want the true and tried, like I pitched 5 pounds of watermelon in my thing and it tastes like it, and I don't know that's the way. So I think this is the start of the way with some tweaking to be done.
I agree.
So if you want to check out and hang out with JJ, he'll be in my Discord. He is part of my Discord. You can find him at Jage, Jage. And he'll be in there answering questions. And I've been doing this with everyone who's coming through. I want whoever's watching, come and ask him a question and see if you can stump him, because he's a fantastic mead taster and mead maker. So let's see if we can stump JJ with some questions.
I accept.
So thanks for being a part of this. Cheers.
Cheers.